2025 is finally the year to see PlayStation 3 on Android handhelds. RPCS 3 is officially available publicly as an alpha, and its most recent update not only supports controls without screen mapping, but it also allowed a lot more games to boot. Even though it's in an alpha, the results are actually quite surprising, and it leaves a lot of hope for better performance to come this year. Since this is still based off the RPCS 3 for PC, it still means that if you're interested in playing a certain title, then you should look at the compatibility list, because there will be some games that still have problems, and there will be good indicators of what isn't going to work or work well on Android. So with that out of the way, let's look at the emulator running on the Odin 2 Portal Pro model, which will have the same performance as the original Odin 2 handhelds. First of all, you'll want to start off by tapping the menu at the top here and add firmware to this emulator. You can grab the latest PS3 firmware from the PlayStation website, which I'll leave a link for in the description. Just go down to the update using computer and download the PS3 update. We also have a whole bunch of settings we could tweak. Now, the only thing I've done, which is just something I saw once, was to go to the advanced settings, then video, and toggle the write color buffers and read color buffers on. You probably don't have to do this, but for the sake of the video, I'm just showing the only changes I've done here. You can also go to the RPCS3 wiki and check each game you want to play individually, as there will be helpful configuration settings to make the game run better. I've also set the frame limit to PS3 native. This is so Tales of Xillia doesn't run faster than it's meant to. There may very well be settings here to absolutely improve performance, but since this is an alpha and we can't change settings on a per game basis, we'll leave that for another time. Now, when you install a game, you have the plus icon down here and it gives you the option to install a file or install a folder. In my experience, if you can install a PKG, then you should go with that, as it seems to have a more successful install. The PKG files come with wrap files, and these are something you need to move manually into the RPCS3 folder. The only way I've found that worked for me to do this is to use the file manager and go to where your wrap file is, long press it and choose to copy or move it, then select the destination on the left here and scroll down to find RPCS3. From here we go into config, then dev_hdd0, then home, this numbered folder, and ex data. Move the wrap files here and that will make the PKG games playable. You can also choose to install an ISO file, or you can choose a folder if you have all the disk files as a folder. When you have a new game tile showing in the emulator and you tap into it, you'll have a lengthy process of compiling and building what it needs to do before the game is playable, so be prepared to wait a while. And finally, it's time to play some games. The showcase I have is of games that are surprisingly playable, and some are even seemingly good to play right now. I was excited to jump straight into Demon's Souls, which to my surprise booted and was extremely playable at first. Now, the footage I'll be showing is of Boletaria, where when entering the first area the frame rate started to dip with the view of the castle in the distance. I thought it was too good to be true to be playable right now, and again, there might be some settings to tweak that would fix this right now, but I'm fully expecting this to be a smooth 30 FPS experience on the Odin 2 later this year. So I wanted to show here that it's not perfect, but it's extremely impressive. This is emulated on the Odin 2 right now. Dante's Inferno is another game that I thought might not play very well, and I saw some footage of someone else trying this on their Odin 2 Max, but I was getting better performance here for some reason. These character action games are best played as close to 60 FPS as possible, and although it's not quite there yet, I was surprised to see how close it was getting. So while it is quite playable at this moment, I think it would be best to see some optimizations either through the settings or in updates to the emulator to see this one running perfectly smooth. Tales of Xillia is a big deal for some to be emulated here because it is a PlayStation 3 exclusive and is one of the higher regarded Tales games, I believe. And with the change of the FPS to PS3 native, it's amazing to see that it's running very well in the beginning. It's hard to test games like JRPGs because you'll have bigger locations later, and I couldn't guarantee it'll perform the same throughout, but the footage here is extremely smooth, and I have a feeling Tales fans will be very happy with this.
You were correct. The Lord of Fire. I can't believe you were able to summon him. Huh? Flames come forward. Fireball! Who's next? Who's next? Who's next? Far too easy.
Another RPG series that's dear to people is Drakengard, which is by the creator of Nier. Drakengard 3 is a special RPG game with a combat system that's kind of similar to the hack and slash games like Hyrule Warriors. This one has its problems, but I was surprised to see it was even running. I have a lot of hope that Drakengard 3 will be playable as more updates come to RPCS 3. I wanted to show Nier here as well, but I couldn't seem to get it running with the versions I had. Still, it might interest people more to play the remake called Nier Replicant, which came out several years ago.
Stand strong! Don't let her through! This is no time for cowardice! Stand tall and fight!
Speaking of RPGs, 3D Dot Game Heroes is a unique Zelda clone where the world is made of voxels. You can even create your own hero to play the entire game with. I thought this game would have a problem with all the blocks that'll fly around when destroying things, but it's running very decently here. If you haven't checked it out, it's a fun, quirky Zelda-like, which you might be surprised to know is by FromSoft. And from an RPG that uses voxels to an arcade game that uses voxels, Resogun is a very unique arcade shooter which is now playable on an Android device. This is a very addictive game that gets quite hectic the further you get into it. This one is also running perfectly and is a great addition to have. The rest of the games in this showcase are very much arcade titles and all seem to run extremely well. Afterburner Climax is a fast-paced shooter as you burn through the sky in your fighter jet and is very much a 3D take on the classic Afterburner series. Hardcore Uprising is a game by Arc System Works and very much inspired by Contra. If you enjoy that series, then this is similar with high quality artwork and mechanics. Tetris is obviously the Tetris you know, but apparently this version for the PS3 is quite a good version of the game to have. It feels very good to play, so I know I'd enjoy doing marathons of this. And lastly, we have Bionic Commando Rearmed 1 and 2. The first game was actually something I tried to get to work in Winlator, but I just couldn't get it going for some reason. So it's super cool to see it working here in a PlayStation 3 emulator. I tried to pick games to test that were either unique to the PS3 or there wasn't really a great alternative to play them on an Android handheld anywhere other than the new RC PS3 emulator. With how good Winlator is now, there are a bunch of titles that are on the PS3 that are probably going to emulate better there with their PC versions, so I tried to avoid titles like that. But there are so many PS3 titles that could be worth trying, so I'm looking forward to seeing the results from others who are also testing. The Odin 2 portal has continued to be such a great investment for me, as I've had the handheld for about 2 months now, and I'm still playing it as my exclusive handheld. I think I'll also check the performance of these titles on the Retroid Pocket 5, which is still a great little device, but I really haven't touched it since I've got my portal. But I did want to do more videos on it because I know a lot more people have them, and it's a very popular device. Speaking of Retroid, I've also ordered the Flip 2 and the Classic, so I'm expecting to cover these either at the end of April or early May. And also with the whole controversy of the Retroid Pocket Mini, I also requested to get the new front panel using the entirety of the screen that was hidden away. So I'll likely do a video showing how that looks, but yeah, it is pretty crazy they never sold the device utilizing the whole screen from the get-go. I know I saw so many people say had the screen been just a little bigger they would have bought one, and it was there the whole time. So I should do a video on PS3 for the Retroid Pocket 5 soon, but for now it's very exciting to see what we have working with our PCS3 right now. 2025 is looking decent for Android emulation with PS3 and possibly more Wii U and Switch updates. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy my content, don't forget to subscribe, as I'll be covering more updates and devices this year. I'm expecting to be brutally honest about the Flip 2, as I did not like the first one, which should be fun. Anyways, see you in the next one. Cheers.